Front and Center. Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome to Front and Center, where we focus on developments in the Philippines, legislation that provides policies and directions that strives to promote a better economy for the country, issues that concern the welfare and well-being of every Filipino. All of these and more will be Front and Center. You can watch this program on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, that's Radyo Pilipinas World Service. So join us for another edition of Front and Center with your host, Jerome Toledo. The Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, warned Filipinos to be vigilant and avoid falling victim to human trafficking by recruiters offering job listings overseas as that they are too good to be true. This came as the Philippine government repatriated 206 Filipino human trafficking victims from Myanmar this week. And the Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, Undersecretary Eduardo de Vega said in a televised public briefing that if a Filipino cannot work if he or she don't possess a work visa, and he added that the condition is when you only have to show up, that is a trap, and if it sounds too good to be true, it is not true. And De Vega was one of the lead officials in the effort to facilitate the immediate return of the 206 Filipinos who were forced to work in scam hubs in Myanmar. The latest repatriates flew back to the Philippines on two different flights via Thailand on Tuesday and Wednesday. De Vega assured that the 206 repatriates will get reintegration assistance from the Philippine government, including a 50,000 Philippine peso cash assistance from the DMW, or Department of Migrant Workers, on top of the $200 cash given by the DFA while they were in Thailand. The 206, De Vega said, were able to return after the scam hubs they were working in closed down amid the crackdown by Myanmar government in cooperation with Thailand and China. Meanwhile, the department or the foreign affairs official believes that such cases of trafficking in Myanmar would decrease because the scam hubs are closing down. However, that what will happen is that they will just move out of the country, and the foreign affairs official said that these operators may go to Africa, and he then advised to not be fooled. And if the job contract is not verified by the DMW and the offer does not include a work visa, you could end up as a human trafficking victims. And also, there's an interview this week with the DMW Undersecretary, that's Undersecretary Bernard Olalia, and he said that though that some Filipinos have been rescued, there are few more Filipinos who choose to stay in Thailand or to stay in Myanmar despite their conditions there. And the Department of Migrant Workers said in that interview will do everything to exert their rescue efforts to those Filipinos who are victimized by these scam hubs. And also, in other related news, the Department of Migrant Workers cited that the need to eliminate gender biases and discrimination in the workforce, as it called for a gender-responsive approach to ensure equal opportunities and protection for women overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs. In a news release, the DMW said this is in line with the President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s advocacy of recognizing the increasing role of women in nation building and the need to provide them with more opportunities, greater confidence, and a stronger voice in society. And this is in line with this month's celebration of which is the Women's Month. And also the DMW Undersecretary Dominic Rubia Tutay underscored the importance of upskilling women or upskilling women OFWs to enhance the employment opportunities locally and abroad. And she also noted that the women OFWs now dominate various fields of work, but sometimes undervalued by economic systems. And the DMW reiterated that the government's commitment to expanding access to training programs that would improve the career prospects of women migrants. And the Women OFW Conference, held in line with the celebration of National Women's Month, underscored the significance of stronger legal protection and welfare programs, particularly under Republic Act number 9710, or the Magna Carta of Women, which guarantees protection against gender-based violence, as well as mental health and psychosocial support and workplace equality and fair treatment. And when we come back, we will discuss about the upcoming elections. Particularly today is the start of the local campaign for local candidates. So Front and Center, we'll be right back after these messages.
Time to celebrate kulturang Pinoy. Tradisyon, musika, sining, literatura at iba pa. Anything and everything fun and Filipino. Ito ang Pinoy Kultura.
Ang abacada, sounds that make up Tagalog words, pagbigkas at pagsulat ng mga titik o letra sa Tagalog, the basis for our national language. Steam It, Panahon TV, Tagalog Lang, Metro Scene, and Wiki dig into its evolution. Records start with the baybayin, the alphabet used by the early Filipinos in the 1600s. From the Tagalog root word baybay, meaning to spell, baybayin was apparently derived and influenced by Indic and Javanese scripts. There was also the alibata. Paul Rodriguez Versosa named that in 1914. Was based on the Arabic alphabet from the Maguindanao Moros, but was modified when the Spanish came. The Spanish introduced the Latin and Spanish alphabet called abecedario, the original alphabet of the Catholicized Filipinos. You could say the Romanized version of baybayin. Then the Americans came and introduced the English language and its 26-letter alphabet. Because there was fear of losing the abecedario, the government ordered the adoption of a Tagalog-based national language. They also wanted a dictionary and grammar book. That's where writer and former Senator Lope K. Santos comes in. In 1939, he developed ang Balarila ng Wikang Pambansa. Abacada became the national alphabet from 1940 to 1976. Noong 1976, ang Department of Education, Culture, and Sports ay nag-issue ng revised alphabet. Dinagdag ang mga letrang C, CH, F, J, L, N, Q, R, R, V, X, at Z. They called it enriched alphabet or pinagyamang alpabeto. More tweaks follow, and in 1987, the Filipino alphabet was published yet again with 28 letters. What you'd recognize is our modern alphabet. 26 letters from the Latin alphabet and the Spanish N or Enye and NG or nang.
Babae sa lahat ng sektor. Aangat ang bukas sa bagong Pilipinas. Babae sa bagong Pilipinas. Kababaihan kayang makipagsabayan at ito ay kanila nang napatunayan. Buong puso ang ibinibigay sa pagharap sa anumang hamon sa buhay. Babae sa bagong Pilipinas. Limitado man ang pisikal na lakas, katatagan ng loob ang sa kanila'y nagpapatikas. Mula noon hanggang ngayon, babae tuloy-tuloy sa pag-asenso. Celebrating all women and women empowerment this National Women's Month. Pagsaludo mula sa Presidential Broadcast Service at Radyo Pilipinas, Radyo Publiko, 738.
Hatol ng Bayan. Election Quick Facts.
Gun ban. Mula January 12 hanggang June 11, 2025 ay iiral ang gun ban sa buong bansa kasabay ng pagpasok ng election period para sa 2025 midterm elections na gaganapin sa May 12. Ang mga lalabag ay papatawan ng parusang pagkakakulong sa loob ng 1 hanggang 6 na taon, permanent disqualification from public office, at aalisan ng karapatang bumoto. Samantala, ang mga dayuhan naman na mahuhuli ay iparireport matapos ang kanilang pagkabilanggo.
Hatol ng bayan. Election Quick Facts.
Sa ilalim ng administrasyon ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ay isusulong ang mga proyektong mangangalaga ng ating kalikasan bilang isa sa mga prioridad sa pagtatatatag ng bagong Pilipinas.
We remain committed to global decarbonization goals and the reduction of our carbon footprint.
Our overall target is to be carbon neutral by 2040, but we have a milestone, what we call 30 by 30, 30% reduction by 2030. Considering that this is a free port zone, dito mo matatagpuan yung concentration ng mga manufacturing, mga pabrika, mga service industry. Yung program ng ating Pangulo is not impossible. It is doable. And we are very determined to show that to the entire nation.
Ang pagkakaisa ng bawat Pilipino upang makamit ang carbon neutrality by 2040 ay lalong naging posible kasama si Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Sa pamahalaang Marcos, ang bagong Pilipinas nakikita na sa nagbabagong Pilipinas. Patuloy ang trabaho, patuloy ang pagbabago.
Miss, maganda boses mo ah. Gusto mo magtrabaho sa Japan?
Salamat po. Japan?
Oo, Japan. Galing ako sa isang recruitment agency. Matutulungan kita na kumita ng limpak-limpak na pera.
Talaga po? Ano pong kailangan kong gawin?
Sa halagang 50,000, sagot ko na lahat ng papeles mo, pati na rin ang ticket mo.
Ma'am, peke po ang mga papeles niyo.
Huwag basta-basta magtiwala. Mag-ingat sa mga illegal recruiter. Isang paalala mula sa Radyo Pilipinas, ang overseas radio ng Philippine Broadcasting Service.
And welcome back to Front and Center. And before we proceed to the upcoming local elections here in the Philippines, let's discuss first the National Bureau of Investigation, particularly the cooperation between the NBI and the International Criminal Police Organization, or the Interpol, because the Malacanang has expressed its support for the NBI's initiative in tapping the International Criminal Police Organization to track down overseas Filipinos that peddles false information. The Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer, Attorney Claire Castro, said the NBI's move should have been done a long time ago. And she said that the number of fake news vloggers is increasing right now, and this should have started before then. So the press officer has expressed its gratitude to the National Bureau of Investigation. And the NBI Director Jaime Santiago earlier confirmed that the agency is coordinating with the international police to pursue individuals overseas that have been accused of spreading false information. And the assistance was sought as Santiago acknowledged the legal complexities of such initiative, especially in countries as the United States, where the libel case is treated as a civil case, not a criminal offense. And the NBI is currently investigating at least 20 people suspected of being part of an organized network propagating quote-unquote misinformation and disinformation, particularly targeting government officials and political personalities. Castro earlier admitted that President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. was slightly affected by the alarming surge in fake news on social media. She said Marcos Jr. has directed the PCO to ramp up the government's drive to counter misinformation, not just for himself, but for the country. And we proceed now to the upcoming local elections here in the Philippines, as today is March 28th is the start of the local campaign for local candidates. And the Philippine National Police has placed all its units under heightened security alert status to secure the start of the election campaign for local candidates today, Friday, March 28. In a virtual press conference, PNP spokesperson Brigadier General Jean Pajardo said the PNP Chief General Romel Francisco Marbil has directed all police regional offices to monitor their areas of responsibility to prevent criminal activities and respond to untoward incidents. The instruction of the PNP Chief Fajardo said is to ensure that the police force will maintain police visibility in areas of engagement, including the area security that the PNP will deploy during campaign sorties of local candidates as well as the national candidates. If you can recall, this week there was an election officer that was slain in the town of Datu Ondinsinsuat in Maguindanao del Norte. He was slain before the start of the local campaign period for local candidates, and as well as there was a peace covenant that was signed a week before the ambush of the election officer there. And also, the PNP has also canceled the leaves of police officers. At least 75% of the total strength of the PNP must be readily available for deployment. And Police Brigadier General Fajardo said Marbil has ordered an intensified monitoring of the election areas of concern. And she said that quote and unquote, history will tell us that political battles are intense when our local officials are involved. And also in a statement, Marbil directed all regional, provincial, city, and municipal police commanders to take the lead in ensuring the electoral processes remains peaceful, honest, and orderly. And the PNP chief has said that, quote and unquote, to those who seek to sow fear, intimidate voters, or manipulate the election through violence, this is the final warning. The full force of the law will be upon you. We will not tolerate any attempt to undermine the democracy. And he added that law enforcers must anticipate threats, act swiftly, and maintain strict neutrality, and meaning to say that's apolitical, and underscoring that he expects a proactive approach in preventing election-related violence. The campaign period for the senatorial candidates and party list groups has started last February 11, while all candidates have until May 10 to campaign for the May 12 national and local elections. And when we come back, we will discuss more about the local campaign period that has started today, March 28, this Friday. So Front and Center will be right back.
Time to celebrate kulturang Pinoy. Tradisyon, musika, sining, literatura, at iba pa. Anything and everything fun and Filipino. Ito ang Pinoy Kultura.
Ang kwento ng adobo. From its humble beginnings sa hapagkainan ng mga Pilipino noong ika-16 na siglo to 21st century international tables, adobo, the most famous and the country's national dish, speaks of our culture, the sour and the salty, the sweetness and spice, mixed with the richness of tender chunks of pork or chicken, sometimes both together. It has traveled provinces, crossed continents to inspire chefs and delight peoples across the seas. Traditionally cooked in clay pots, the Spanish gave the name adobo to the dish, from adobar, which means marinade. It is an indigenous cooking method that uses vinegar and salt to preserve food in the tropical climate. It's been cooked a multitude of ways. Simple, may maanghang, merong may coconut milk, depende sa rehiyon na siyang pinanggalingan. It's so flexible, it can create various and sometimes new tastes. Panlasang Pinoy has listed 31 of what they call insanely delicious adobo recipes. There's the traditional chicken adobo. Simple, made with chicken, soy sauce, vinegar, garlic, peppercorns, and bay leaves. There's adobo that varies in color and taste. Adobong dilaw, adobong pula, at adobong puti. At hindi lang lutong chicken or pork. May adobong tahong, adobong kangkong, and chicken feet adobo. The New York Times once shared on Twitter a simple chicken adobo recipe as comfort food to cook in the middle of winter. The Food Network had its own adobo recipe, and there is apparently a Spanish chicken adobo with chocolate. This humble but iconic adobo is not without controversy. Wikipedia says a trade department once announced plans to standardize the most popular Filipino dishes to make them easier to promote, starting with the adobo. Maraming hindi natuwa at binatikos ang plano. The agency did a 180, said it's not mandatory and will only be done as a benchmark to define a basic traditional recipe para malaman kung tunay na Filipino dish pag nasa international setting. The adobo has been honored abroad, was runner-up in the Best Nouveau Street Food in the 2010 LA Street Food Fest. Philippine Primer says Chef Gordon Ramsay picked a pork adobo burger in Good Morning America's Battle of the Burgers in 2017. One can say the mix of flavors and spices of this iconic dish is a perfect foil for the Filipino character. It has certainly come a long way and has endured all this time. Simple or fusion elaborate version, the adobo remains to warm hearts and please palates. And bringing Tatak Pinoy to the world, just a bonus.
Yan ang Pinoy Kultura because our culture is cool.
Babae sa lahat ng sektor. Aangat ang bukas sa bagong Pilipinas. Babae sa bagong Pilipinas. Kababaihan kayang makipagsabayan at ito ay kanila nang napatunayan. Buong puso ang ibinibigay sa pagharap sa anumang hamon sa buhay. Babae sa bagong Pilipinas. Limitado man ang pisikal na lakas, katatagan ng loob ang sa kanila'y nagpapatikas. Mula noon hanggang ngayon, babae tuloy-tuloy sa pag-asenso. Celebrating all women and women empowerment this National Women's Month. Pagsaludo mula sa Presidential Broadcast Service at Radyo Pilipinas, Radyo Publiko, 738.
Ito ang Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Ang online digital platform station ng Presidential Broadcast Service, Bureau of Broadcast Services. Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Nagsisilbing makabagong tulay sa paghahatid ng balita, impormasyon at mga programa para sa mga Pilipino sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo gamit ang online services sa inyong mga social media application. Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Ang online digital station ng Pilipino para sa Pilipino, saan mang dako ng mundo.
Again, welcome back to Front and Center. And today, more than 41,000 candidates for local positions in the May 12 elections are set to start the campaign this Friday. Data from the Commission on Elections or COMELEC show there are 41,342 candidates for district representatives, governor, vice governor, provincial board members, mayor, vice mayor, and councilors in the upcoming polls. The 45-day campaign period for local candidates will be until May 10. With this, the COMELEC chairperson George Erwin Garcia reminded all the candidates to strictly follow campaign guidelines. And for that matter, those considered lawful under COMELEC Resolution number 11086 are the following: the pamphlets, leaflets, cards, decals, stickers, or other written or printed materials the size of which does not exceed 8.5 in width and 14-inch in length. The handwritten or printed letters urging voters to vote for or against any particular party or candidate for public office. Posters or standees not exceeding 2 feet by 3 feet, and streamers not exceeding 3 feet by 8 feet in size displayed at the site, and only on the occasion of a public meeting or rally. And also, aspirants, the COMELEC reminded, are also allowed to use campaign materials in mobile units and vehicles, whether engine or manpower driven or animal drawn, or with or without sound systems, or loudspeakers with or without lights. And also, the poll body reminded that paid advertisements in print or broadcast media, outdoor and static or light emitting diode or LED billboards owned by private entities or persons, mobile or transit advertisements on public utility vehicles and signboard must be displayed in the headquarters. On the other hand, those who are looking to be elected for local posts are prohibited from displaying campaign materials on LED display boards located along highways and streets, and other similar devices that are owned by local government units, government-owned and controlled corporation or GOCCs, or any agency or instrumentality of the government, motor vehicles used as patrol cars, ambulances, and for other similar purposes that are owned by the local government units or LGUs, GOCCs, and other agencies and instrumentalities of the government, particularly those bearing government license plates, and also the public transport vehicles owned and controlled by the government, such as the Metro Rail Transit or MRT, the Light Rail Transit or the LRT, and the Philippine National Railways or PNR trains and the like. Also considered illegal are posting campaign materials in waiting sheds, sidewalks, street and lamp posts, electric posts and wires, traffic signages, as well as other signboards erected on public property, pedestrian overpasses and underpasses, flyovers and underpasses, as well as bridges, main thoroughfares, center islands of roads and highways, school, public shrines, barangay halls, or the village halls, government offices, health centers of public structures and buildings or any edifice, and within the premises of public transport terminals owned and controlled by the government, such as bus terminals, airports, seaports, docks, piers, train stations, and the like. And also the COMELEC has advised for the political advertisements on television and radio, local bets cannot have more than 60 minutes of television advertisement on a per station basis and 90 minutes of radio advertising on a per station basis also, according to the rules of the poll body. The maximum size, however, of the printed political advertisements for each candidate, whether for a national or a local elected positions, meanwhile, is 1/4 page of for broadsheets and 1/2 page for tabloids, and that they cannot be published for more than 3 times a week per newspaper. And for those engaging in outdoor campaign advertisements, the COMELEC has advised that they cannot have more than 1 month of advertisement in a certain static or LED billboards and within a radius of 500 meters from each other. Garcia has directed local COMELEC personnel to put up more poster or common poster areas in their respective areas. And as for holding campaign rallies, Attorney Garcia said the candidates and political parties should adhere to policies and of the local government units, including seeking the necessary permits. The violators of the guidelines will be subjected to notices to be sent to the concerned candidates. And well, that concludes this edition of Front and Center. Together with Radyo Pilipinas World Service Production Team and technical personnel Milo Janela and Hiro Lucero. This is your host, Jerome Toledo. Until next time, mabuhay, love the Philippines.
You have just heard and watched Front and Center. Front and Center. Join us again for another edition here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Front and Center.